Good day. So for breakfast or other meals, we like egg foo young. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty easy. Just takes you to scramble some eggs up. You can add in some bean sprouts and some sliced onion or chopped up green onion. Pretty easy to make. So you just crack in. I've used a dozen eggs. I've got 2 packs of bean sprouts from the store. You want to rinse those well with some water and then kind of let them drip off so that they're not super wet. And then add a bit of salt and pepper. You can add more or less depending on if you need to avoid salt or not. And put some soy sauce in. We're using this Bragg's liquid soy seasoning. It's a pretty good alternative, like if you're trying to avoid wheat, like gluten and stuff like that. So it's a pretty good alternative. Tastes very similar to soy sauce. It's made out of soy. There's also cocoa aminos if you want to avoid using soy in your food. So we mix all that up really good here. There's our dishwashers at the end of the cycle. And I usually add the onions first so I can mix them in fairly well. So I've pre-chopped them all up. And generally what we'll do is we'll use avocado oil to fry it in because it's a high temperature oil, like it can handle a lot of high heat for frying things. Yeah, it's a good thing. There's kind of a funny French joke about in French it's avocat instead of avocado, and avocats also means is what you also call a lawyer as well too. So so it's kind of like lawyer oil, I guess. So you just mix her in good here, and then when you go to spoon it into or move it into your frying pan to cook it, you want to give it a bit of a mix there just to kind of make sure that the egg is kind of coating all, because the egg will tend to migrate downwards. So you want to make sure that that goes, it's all mixed in nice, so you get a nice egg texture in there. If you see like little ones, a little bit of bean sprouts got a little bit of black on the end or brown on the end, you can chuck it out there. And afterwards, once we've got it cooked off, what we like to put on there is a bit of sesame oil, like roasted sesame oil, and it adds a nice flavor. We try to kind of cut down on sugar in our household, so it's instead of like the traditional sauce you get in a restaurant, it's not nearly as, and we're trying to cut down on the starch in the sauces as well too, so we enjoy that. So I'm going to get things repositioned over by the stove there so you can take a look at that. Okay, so we got our pan heating up with avocado oil in there. You want to turn the fan on your stove there because there'll be a little bit of smoke and whatnot, so you don't want to be smoking your house out. So before we throw our mixture into the pan there, we just want to kind of give it a bit of a mix up here and make sure everything's good there. It's well coated and whatnot. So we'll just put some of that into here and just kind of spread out the bean sprouts and whatnot, kind of squish them down. Ooh, pretty hot fire there. Just so that it's kind of evenly, so there's not big humps up in the middle there. So we'll let that cook on the first side for a bit here. I'm just going to turn down the fire a little bit. We kind of enjoy cooking with the gas stove, the gas range, because it's, you can kind of see the flame, you see how hot it is. You can move your pan around on the flame, and a little tougher, and it's instant heat, like it's hot as soon as you turn it on.
And when you turn off your topper.
So, and then if it's too hot, you turn it off, and the flame is off, and it's not riveting, it's not heating anymore. So you want to cook it so that it's starting to solidify a little bit more in the middle, otherwise it's going to be pretty sloppy when you flip it over. If you make them smaller, it's a little bit easier to handle in the pan, especially if you're not, you know, if you don't do it lots, and I don't do this every day, so I'm not an expert at this by any means yet. But it's something that we enjoy here as a family, and it's a pretty easy meal. You can have it for breakfast. It's kind of like an omelet. You can serve for supper as one of the courses. It's pretty versatile. It's a nice versatile dish. You can see it's starting to brown along the edges here. I'm just going to give her a little peek underneath here, see what it looks like here. See, yeah, see it's starting to come nice there. So I'll probably flip that pretty soon. So she'll probably be a little bit messy when I flip it, but oh well. You just want to make sure that it's not stuck to the sides here before you flip it here, so it doesn't give you more grief when you're doing it. And another thing that kind of a bit of a trick is I like to kind of, you know, make sure it's loosened up here around and just kind of move it around a little bit, and that'll kind of help spread the oil underneath it, so that once you flip it, it shouldn't stick, in theory. So just let that sit for a few more seconds here. Okay, so I'm going to give this a big flipperoni here. And just kind of slide that there. On the second side, it doesn't take very long to cook because it's heated on both sides, and it'll cook through pretty quick there. But it's just got a nice brown texture to it. So we'll sneak another little peek here. Yeah, that's looking nice on that side there. So the problem with cast iron pans is the handle gets pretty hot, so if you're using cast iron, make sure you got a hot pad to grab the handle with. And I'll just turn the flame off while I'm doing this so I don't burn my arm there bringing this across. Just kind of loosen her up a bit there. And voila! There we go. Nice, delicious egg. Okay, and then just before, you can put a little bit of the sesame oil on here before you serve it. Just to add a nice sesame flavor to it. Add a fork and enjoy. Delicious.